So let's take a look at the Knicks offseason thus far. Team president Phil Jackson and the Knicks parted ways on June 28th after 3 years of the Zen master being in charge. Then New York engaged former Cavs GM David Griffin in talks to assume the role but couldn't come to an agreement, reportedly due to a lack of full authority for Griffin in basketball-related decisions. The team's big free agent move was bringing back former draft pick Tim Hardaway Jr. after a 2-year stint in Atlanta. That price tag, 4 years, $71 million. Then this past Friday, the Knicks named Kings executive Scott Perry their new GM. Knicks president Steve Mills introduced Perry in a press conference Monday, but the New York media wanted to, of course, talk about the rumored Carmelo Anthony trade that didn't happen.
From our vantage point, we made a decision as we were getting closer to hiring Scott that I felt it was important for us to slow down, regroup, as related to the trade scenarios with Carmelo. So we made a decision to slow things down, let us regroup and get together and make sure we're doing what's best for the New York Knicks, and at the same time we'll do what's best for Carmelo.
I see myself as a bridge builder, not a bridge destroyer. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I'm embracing the fact that I'm moving to New York, and I understand the magnitude that comes with being in the largest media market in the world. And I'm looking forward to it.
Steve, one of the options that's come up with Carmelo has been a buyout or a waive. Is that something you could possibly see happening at all with you guys?
No.
So in regards to the total money remaining on their contracts, Tim Hardaway Jr. is first with his 4 years and $71 million, then Joakim, Melo, and Courtney. So to help break down the Knicks offseason that has been, we welcome in Stephen Bondy. Thanks so much for taking the time. It was your question to Steve Mills about Melo. Were you surprised at the simplicity of the answer?
No, I was expecting it. It's always weird to hear your own voice.
Yeah.
That was weird. But I mean, you expect that. We knew. I kind of knew beforehand what the answer was going to be. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he didn't want to expand on it. It was just a flat-out no. But yeah, I mean, that's orders coming from up top. The Knicks decided, even when Phil Jackson was in charge, that they weren't going to buy out Carmelo. He has $54 million left. That was not something they were going to do. So, yeah, it wasn't very surprising.
But it was widely reported until just days ago that a trade was nearing completion. What does Melo's future look like now?
It's really up in the air. I mean, and you understand where the Knicks are coming from, too. If they don't like the offer that was coming from Houston, they were going to take a step back. They just hired a new GM to kind of evaluate the situation. And now, you know, the Rockets' ownership is in flux. I mean, it's really tough to say what's going to happen. But if I'm Carmelo Anthony, I'm really upset. I mean, you basically told me I don't want you here anymore. And Carmelo said, I want to stay. And then finally he said, all right, well, I'm willing to go. And, you know, these are the places I want to go. And now the Knicks are telling him, you know what? Guess what? We want to talk to you about coming back. So the relationship is strained. The timeline doesn't fit either. I mean, Carmelo Anthony is, you know, at the back end of his prime. He doesn't want to play for a team that is now rebuilding. So it's a tough situation right now between the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony.
We also heard Steve Mills say he has a hectic texting relationship with Kristaps Porzingis. What's the latest on his future with this franchise?
Well, I mean, he's here to stay because, I mean, contractually, but, you know, there were some issues about, you know, how he was developing last season. You know, the things happened where he skipped his exit meeting at the end of the year with Phil Jackson. And it's good to hear that Steve Mills reached out because for a while there was no contact with Kristaps Porzingis. He left without talking to anybody in the Knicks brass. And, you know, it's good to hear from the Knicks perspective that they've been talking to him since Phil left.
Stephen, thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks.
So now I welcome in the one that I have a hectic texting relationship with, 3D Dennis Scott, to help break down the conversations surrounding the New York Knicks. Let's go with Melo first. Were you surprised that this has been now the news this week?
No, I'm not surprised. Now the fact that they moved on with Phil Jackson, I think that was the biggest holdup. Was Phil going to stay and continue to make the decisions? Now they moved on and brought in Scott Perry. I think everybody can take a deep breath and say, if Melo's going to stay, now guess what? No more triangle. If you're going to keep Melo, you have to play through Melo. Melo has to touch the basketball. Yes, he's a one-on-one guy, so now you have to build a better a support system around him. So, like Steve Mills says, they're not going to buy him out. So now Coach Hornacek has to figure out what kind of offense, bring back Porzingis. Obviously, a lot has to be featured around him as well. But those two guys, the draft pick, get some guys healthy. Now the New York Knicks can breathe a little bit and say, you know what, now we have a good team. Yes, a lot of makeup is about Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not mad at the contract. There's a lot of crazy contracts being going around right now in the NBA. The question is, will these guys come in, play hard, play together, and give New York Knicks fans a better product every night? That's what I'm worried about.
How significantly, though, does it affect play on the floor if you are Carmelo Anthony, if you have gone through the last 6 or so months with this Knicks franchise?
Well, for Carmelo, I think he's done an excellent job from leaving Denver, what he's gone through, answering all the media questions throughout this whole process. I know he and Coach Hornacek have a pretty good relationship. I look for them to rebuild that some more. But I say it again, Kristen, now that all the contracts are signed, let's turn the page. How do we become a better basketball team? How do we get our fan base to show up to support us? If they concentrate on that, not worry about the contract, let Scott Perry handle all that kind of business, I think New York Knicks fans might be excited again.
Well, when we come back, we're going to have the hottest of the summer Vegas Summer League highlights, including the top 10 plays and the most impressive players. Right after this.